Kathy, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right, let me ask you a question before we get started. One of the questions I had, now that we're, I guess, at least a year into tax allocation collection.
Yes.
Can you start reporting back to us on what those numbers are looking like?
I can, as soon as I get some money. I've not received anything yet, and I've mentioned this a couple of times, that I don't think the tax commissioner is just going to give us that money without somebody prodding him, possibly. And I was not involved with the whole setup of the thing. I just knew there was supposed to be money coming in. So I thought maybe the city attorneys could talk to the county attorney and see if they could get that ball rolling, because so far we've not received anything.
I will, I don't know that I can bring it up in the commission meeting tonight since it's not on the agenda, but maybe I can go ahead and send an email out tomorrow, because it's not, well, the county collects the Board of Education's percentage too, right?
Right,
So,
but there was some question at one point as to whether they gave all that money to the Board of Ed, and then the Board of Ed was going to have to pay us. But because I wasn't really involved with all the consultant and how when it was all set up, so I'm not sure what's supposed to start the ball rolling. From my understanding, the tax commissioner is required to send us that money, but no one has said a thing to me yet.
okay, well then I'll go ahead and stir up the dirt or the dust on that. And because I've been thinking about that, and it's been, you know, we've had a whole year into it now. So we should be able to start getting some kind of numbers on that and know where that money is.
Right. I've mentioned it several times, but so far I've not seen anything come in on it. And I think it's going to take somebody besides me to discuss that with.
Okay. Then I might see about putting it on, you know, if it needs to be an agenda item, I'll put it on the agenda. If it can just be a query via email to everybody, then I'll start there and go from there.
Right. I think, I know we had budgeted, I think it was about $38,000, but we really didn't. I mean, we were just basing that on our best estimate. I mean, we had spreadsheets that showed what the baseline year was and basically what the new amount was. And obviously it wasn't very much for the first year. But yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I mean,
but
yeah, that's our money. So yes.
It's still our money, and then somebody's earning interest on it somewhere, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
And it should, it should increase. I mean, barring
Right.
all the coronavirus stuff, it's still property taxes that come due. So, and we have had quite a few properties change hands downtown. So, okay.
So I know I'm sure they collected it. Obviously, you know, they would have collected their part of it and the school board's part of it, but I've not had a lot of luck communicating
Through the county?
with the tax commissioner.
Yeah, with the okay, gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, I'll
That was my suggestion, was that the attorneys, you know, maybe
Get
be involved
okay.
and let him know that, you know, that he has to do that.
Okay. Thank you. That was good to know. Okay. I'll follow up on that then.
Yeah, I hadn't forgotten it.
Okay. I figured you probably hadn't, but every time I thought about it, it wasn't the right time, or, you know, it was like in the middle of the night or some weird time. So I had it written down to ask you about that. So, okay. That sounds good. Well, hopefully we can get this thing worked out.
Yeah. Anybody show me how to mute this, because I got a dog barking.
You should have a mute button in the bottom left of your. Let's see if you click on your. If you click on your name in the bottom left corner, do you see your menu button down there?
I've got start video, invite participants, share screen.
Just take your cursor and click down near the bottom somewhere, and it'll pull up a menu bar.
Well, I thought I could do my name on the side and put a, you know, the cross through it to show it would, but that won't work. Because I did it the other day, but I don't know what it's.
In the top right corner, you should have like a bunch of bubbles, like you can bring it up like Hollywood Squares. You can relate to Hollywood Squares. You're
Yeah, I'm old enough for that.
okay.
I don't. The other day when I was in a meeting, it let me do that, but I can't find it on my thing. I may go off and come back on. I don't.
Well, if you move your cursor around the bar, there's a bar on the bottom that pops up, and on your far left, it's got the microphone with the mute button.
Unmute.
Yeah, well, you had it muted there for a second.
Okay, now they can hear me? Okay. Uh-oh.
Oh, Julie?
I'm sorry.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
I got you, Mr. Meredith, Commissioner Williams.
I'm here.
This is Commissioner Harris. I can hear you.
Okay, we're waiting on, I guess, Johnny.
Jason here.
Okay, good. I see you loud and clear, Johnny.
Thumbs up.
All right, then. Okay, is everybody on the line? Then we're gonna go ahead and open up, okay?
Roll.
All right.
All right. Well, I'd like to call to order the city council meeting dated Wednesday, April 1st. We will have an invocation. Commissioner Williams, would you mind giving us an invocation? And then
Not a problem.
we can dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Do we have somebody recording the meeting?
Courtney is recording.
Here.
Okay. There she is. Okay.
All right. If we'll just bow. Eternal God, our Father, we come now in the name of your Son, Jesus. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather in this form. And Father, we ask that you continue to bless us and guide us as we direct and as we lead our city. Father, we thank you for how you've blessed us and how you've covered us even in this pandemic. And we ask now that you would give us wisdom, that you would give us knowledge. Father God, that you would give us the understanding to do the things that are right for this community and for this city and for the people that we serve. God, we honor you and we love you. We thank you that things as well as they are, for we realize they could be far worse. But God, we thank you that things as well as they are, and we ask that you would just continue to bless us, guide us, and strengthen us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. We can dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance. We will just go ahead and start our meeting. But before I start, are there anything to be added to our agenda?
I believe there are items that need to be added to the agenda. I know the Courtney just sent it. This is Brian, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah.
Courtney sent it out. Item 5A under my city attorney's items, consider for approval of resolution 2020-08, emergency order of the City of Brunswick Board of Commissioners related to COVID-19.
Okay, can I get a motion from?
I'll make a motion that we approve that we add the resolution.
I'll second.
Okay, been probably motion second that we add resolution 2020-08, which is the emergency order of the City of Brunswick Board of Commissioners related to the COVID-19 pandemic. Are there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed has the same sign, same right? No opposes? That motion carries. Thank you.
I'd also like to make a motion to defer item number 2 to consider approval for the purchase of new tax sanitation billing collection software.
Second.
Motion second to defer item number 2, which is approval to purchase new tax sanitation building software. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, opposed, the same sign. All right, that motion carries. Thank you. I believe we have another one, item 3, A, I believe, to be added to as well.
So I make a motion that we add that item regarding the CDBG funds for home repair, the home repair program.
Second.
Motion second to add item number 3A, consider approval of home repair for the CDBG program. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please say aye.
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 All right, all opposed, the same sign. That motion carries as well. Okay, thank you everybody for joining in on this meeting. I know it's a little awkward, maybe, for some of us, but it's okay. We just move right along and get to the business that we need to discuss. Our first item is consider approval of the March 18, 2020 scheduled meeting minutes and the March 23rd special call meeting minutes. Now, this is in our book. We had enough time to peruse it and look over it. So, no further.
I'll make a motion that we approve the regular schedule minutes as well as a special call meeting minutes.
Second.
Second.
All right, motion and second to approve of the March 18, 2020 regular scheduled meeting minutes and the special call meeting minutes of March 23rd. Are there any further discussion or addition or deletion to that? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, the same sign. That motion carries. Thank you. Okay. Since item number 2 was deferred, we have skipped down to item number 3. Consider approval of the financial reports as of February 29th, 2020. Is Ms. Mills on the line?
I am.
Okay. The floor is yours.
Okay. You should have the reports for February 29th. At this point, we are 2/3 of the way through with the year. You'll see general fund year to date. We have net revenues over expenditures are $2.7 million. Look at the loss distribution, loss year to date. We are at 5.66% over distributions for the same period of last year. On title ad valorem tax, you'll see we are 52.67% lower. I think we discussed that a little bit at the last time, and in the Finance Committee meeting, Commissioner Harris wanted some further information on that, and so I am trying to obtain that with calls through GMA and see if I can get some more clarification and some backup for the fact that that number has dropped so dramatically. On page 2, you have SPLOST 6, and I think the main thing that we probably spent a little more money on this past month of February was for fire station improvements. You'll see we have at the top almost $7 million of cash, the majority of that being at Georgia Fund 1. We do have a lot of things that are in process that we will start to see a lot more money going out. Roosevelt Harris Center, that has been finished. The improvements on that at $176,000. Right now, we are still on schedule, it looks like, in getting as much money as we had anticipated. But, you know, as with the general fund and the loss distributions, I don't think any of us really know how this is going to affect us for the next 3 months in sales tax revenue and the SPLOST revenue. But hopefully it'll be okay. Guess we'll just have to wait and see, because we've not seen this before. On page 3, SPLOST 5, there is $1.4 million in the SPLOST 5 accounts. I did get a bill the other day that we're paying in March for to Gunmeyer for architectural fees that are around $26,000. The Norwich Street Commons Fund, no activity in that fund. It does have a cash balance of $334,000. The Roosevelt Harris Multipurpose Center has a cash balance of $34,000. They are at 55.99% in the budget on their inflows and 53% of outflows on their expenditures. And considering that we're at 67% of the year, that's not a bad performance thus far. The sanitation fund on the next page, you'll see operating income of a little over $1 million. We have $979,000 in cash. As before, though, we built up right now, but we will be paying the bills for the next few months, and we'll see very little income coming in because we've collected most of the income from property tax billing. So we'll mostly be seeing the quarterly fees from landlords and the commercial fees coming in monthly. The trash pickup for the month of February is $121,000, which is what it runs between 121 and 122. You'll see the illegal refuse was, for the year to date, we're at 38,000. Street sweeping for year to date, we're at $25,000. Stormwater utility fund has a net of $207,000. We have a cash balance of $459,000 in stormwater utility. I know this printed really small, so I don't know if you can read it, but additional information, you'll see traffic control expenses. We spent $19,000 in the month of February, and that was for turtle lights installed by Glenn County. I'm not sure if we put that exactly where it should have been, because I think it went there because when it was coded, they thought, okay, Glenn County did it, and Glenn County does the traffic lights. So I'm not sure. I've got to go back and look and see, did we budget that somewhere else? But it was for the
These were
lights.
put on the bridge, Kathy?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Some kind of amber lights for the turtles.
Right.
And then on recreation expenses, we did spend approximately $2,600 in the month of February. That was paid to subsidize fees, and that was for 92 basketball registrations. Last page is the Roosevelt Lawrence Center, and of course that's just the normal everyday expenditures that we pay out for the center. For the month, it was approximately $6,000. Year to date, we've spent approximately $74,000. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to.
Kathy, I have one question that we briefly talked about in the finance meeting, and I didn't have a chance to follow up or to find out any additional information on the street.
No, I haven't had a chance yet, but I'm aware of it, and it hasn't slipped my mind. I am aware of it. I've just been busy with some other things that I need to get with Mr. Alberson to discuss that. So hopefully before we have the next finance meeting. It was a question about it was the street sweeping, I think, wasn't it, Commissioner Williams? About the amount we pay, that we're having to pay money to dispose of, to empty the street sweepers, and we're paying a fee to Waste Management for that. And Commissioner Williams had a question about that, and Mr. Alberson was there at the Finance Committee meeting too, and we are going to look into that. We just have not had a chance yet to do that.
Okay. And for the benefit of those that weren't part of the finance meeting, what is why are we paying Waste Management to dump? Because actually they're upcharging us. Wherever they're dumping it at, they're probably getting one fee, but we're paying them an additional fee for the dumping. So if we just dumped it ourselves, I think that we could come out better financially.
Okay. Good question. Any further questions?
You know, I'll say this, there was a time, a long time ago, that I asked for a dumpster to be put down on Bay Street at Public Works, and I don't know whatever happened to that request, but it seemed like a pretty good thing to look into, but I never really heard anything back on it.
Well, I think we'll get our public works director looking at. You will get our city manager to ask the public works director as to, can that be done or should that be done, and we can go from there.
I have one other thought as we are going through this time period that we are, that it would be prudent to start thinking about and preparing for hardships for people to pay their property taxes, and how we're going to deal with that, and just start a conversation about anything related to revenues coming into the city, and how we might deal with that in light of a lot of people out of work right now.
That's a good question, a good thing to think about, Mayor Pro Tem, because even though we have our property tax bill in November, it's going to come out, I guess, sometime in September as to what it would be. So, and people need to be thinking about that too. So you're right. We need to be at least starting the conversation as to how we can help our citizens, get past this. A lot of people got laid off and get past this epidemic that we got going on, this crisis. So
Yeah, and I think if we could start the conversation, certainly at the state level, just to start that dialogue of, what we can anticipate, what to start looking towards, maybe offering to our citizens or others, and how all that's going to start to play out, because it will be a factor as we get towards that point in the year. And all of a sudden, it's hard to imagine now getting back to business as usual. I think we've got some long-term repercussions for folks, and I think we just need to start thinking about and preparing for that.
I think that's an excellent idea, and the state or the government has already rolled back federal income taxes, so we really do need to start figuring out a way to help folks. We're going to need to do it without a doubt.
That's what I was going to make mention of, what Commissioner Kaysen has just said, following suit to the other federal agencies that are Internal Revenue Service, U.S. Department of Treasury, that has rolled back the deadlines on filing different returns. So we can come together with our tax department and discuss that and see what time frame we could roll back, if necessary, for the deadline of the filing and paying the property taxes.
That would be an excellent thing for the Finance Committee to pursue.
Yes.
I was just going to suggest that.
I've been thinking about, Johnny. I'm sorry, Commissioner Casey.
And I think now is a good time to at least start that dialogue. Not that we have to have something formulated immediately, but at least we're thinking about it and looking at what other communities might be doing and how we can best determine what to do within our own community.
yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
I would voice this up to the Council of Mayors with GMA as well. They normally have we have a weekly a briefing, and I will make sure that be one of the questions that I ask to see what other mayors are doing also.
Kathy, have you seen any movement in the way of revenues up or down, or outflows that seem COVID?
Well, obviously we're purchasing, a lot of protective stuff and that we had not originally intended to have to purchase. But as far as revenue, I've not really seen much because this is sort of a slow time of the year anyway. Business licenses have, for the most part, been paid already, and most of the property taxes have been paid. My main concern is when we see sales tax come in next month. Although with all the people buying everything at the grocery stores and other places, that may be okay this next month, and it may be a couple of months before we see that trickle down. So far, I'm not really noticing.
Good. You still got a problem with automobile taxes and.
Right.
So are we going to get some relief? Wasn't the state looking into that for us?
They did.
They are looking into it, but go ahead, Mayor.
Yes, sorry, Commissioner Gates, they did look into that. As a matter of fact, a bill was put before the General Assembly to change the way they compute that to make it more equitable for cities. We realized when they changed the formula, the cities got kind of short-ended on that. So they put a bill before General Assembly. I don't know when the General Assembly is going to meet again, I'm hoping that that bill will come out of there signed by the governor.
Good, thank you.
Well, without getting too far afield from the finance report, I'll go ahead and make a motion
Well, thank
that
you.
we approve the finance report as presented.
I second.
Okay, properly motion second for the approval of the finance report as presented. Are there any further questions, discussions?
You know, I just wanted to say that we need to keep a record on any of this COVID stuff because there's a possibility of FEMA reimbursing. Yeah, so want to
That
be
is
sure
true.
to keep the
Commissioner Tate.
document.
Yes,
Keep the
and
document.
I actually got something else from Monica Carden today over at the county, telling me about some money that we can get through, I think it was the JAG grants. And she said the city of Brunswick is listed. And I did some brief reading on that. And it's mostly for safety equipment, masks and sanitizer and that kind of stuff. And also some overtime for police departments. I sent that on to Major Post this afternoon after I got it. So there's a possibility we can get some money there. And also Beatrice had sent me an email the other day too about GEMA money, which I think Ms. Myers was already aware of. But so there is money out there, and
There's
we
gonna
are
be
aware
more
of it.
too. We need to be tuned in on how to get it.
Yeah,
And
as quickly as possible.
When we're specifying the identity of our expenditures towards the COVID, so that when for accounting purposes we're being specific in the items that are specific towards COVID.
Right.
Well, I think we probably need to do and we'll start immediately doing I may even set up a general ledger account separately so we can pay things out of that and it will be easy to find. But
Yes.
probably also I can get maybe the police department in particular, who are probably doing some overtime because they don't have all their officers. Some of them are out sick actually. So, you know, not necessarily with the virus, but we're having to pay out some overtime. And I know we also have brought in some temporary, I think the school board and maybe the college, they were looking at having some of those people help us with the police department because they were so short-handed. So I'll talk with Chief Jones and make sure we can get that specified.
Before you go
so that we'll
further,
know.
the city manager, what you got to say about this, if you are?
Are you able to hear me? Because I'm connected via telephone. I just want to make sure you can hear me.
We can hear you. I know
Yeah.
you and I discussed this before about accountability, accounting purposes with this COVID-19 virus thing.
Correct. I agree. We are in the process of receiving, again, notifications from the various providers of services, be it from the state level and from also other local funding sources and community resources. The JAG grant notification, I did not receive that notice, but we've had various department heads that have been participating in webinars,
Yes.
and we will convene in order to see what the city qualifies for and what are the actual application processes now from some of the preliminary documentations. There are things that are going to be reimbursement only, so we won't have that money up front. But those are the types of things that we're gathering the information now, how what we can apply for, what special populations and departments those things are applicable to, so that we can move forward to be able to respond and be able to get the things that we need. In addition to various donations that have still been received as far as for supplies. The Coastal Health District has made donations to both our police and fire department of various supplies. So there are some things that we've been able to get through either gratis or in-kind donations. And we'll just being responsive to all of those sources and all the information that we received. There have been a number of updates from FEMA And again, we're just trying to participate on every webinar and call that we can in order to be able to get that information, and we can be responsive and be able to get the city of Brunswick out in front of this so that we can be able to get access to those the available resources.
Okay, thank you.
That's where we are at this point.
You know, I'd like to add something to that, if I may, please. We need to take a look at all of our departments, and this is part of, before we approve our budget that we've got on the table. We need to look at every department and see what they need in the way of protective equipment. And I think we need to look further than this being a spring problem. This could very well be a summer problem. So we need a good projection of what you're going to need to protect everybody down there that's in harm's way. Police, fire.
Each department director has already, a request has been made. I've made a request of each department director to give me their list of what they need for their employees. I've reached out, we've been contacted by some community organizations. I've also reached out to members of our local delegation to include our area state senator and state representatives. And I've shared with them our list of what has come in from our fire chief and our chief of police to say what our first responders, our police officers, our firefighters, and city staff members, it wasn't just limited to police and fire, but I made a comprehensive, holistic approach to all of our department heads to ask them specifically what they needed. Our code enforcement officers, building inspectors, those individuals, including public works, to ask them, please give me your list. Tell me what you need so that we can get and we can let our, like I said, our elected officials at the state level to know what it is that we need. I was also told by Senator Ligon and Chief Mobley confirmed that there is basically through GEMA, in order to get the allocations and the items that are allocated through FEMA that come down through the state through GEMA, there's a point of contact. Our point of contact is Chief Mobley, our fire chief, and that's because he employs individuals with medical certifications. Those are our EMTs, our firefighters that are also certified EMTs. He is that point of contact, and that is to centralize and be able to actually collect the information and what we need in order to be responsive. There was a delivery of N95 masks, surgical masks, gowns, and gloves to our to our fire chief on yesterday from Todd, and I don't want to mispronounce his last name. He made a delivery on yesterday to our fire chief. The chief was able to divide and also share some of those supplies that were donated to Chief Jones, to our police department. So we are taking those steps, but again, there are certain measures in being able to control and make sure the distribution is fair and equitable throughout the 159 counties that they're trying to centralize and control the distribution and make sure that all of our counties have access to the resources they need. So again, we're making those calls, we're participating in those webinars, and the contact has been made to all of our department directors to ask them, just basically not ask and tell them, please let us know what you need, because the normal practices and what is normally done that departments are able to order for themselves, they have been running into the recurring complication or challenge of not being able to find the resources that they normally would be able to order or have access to supplies that are no longer there. So we have, expanded our normal process with assisting our purchasing agent and making sure that they know the purchasing agent is there and available to assist. She has been collecting information, and if she has a point of contact that maybe some of the departments have not used previously, then she's been able to assist with those departments in getting the necessary supplies. So that's where we are at this time. And then I'm sure Ms. Thorpe is also making sure that she is documenting for all respective purposes that these certain purchases are being made in relation to the COVID-19 event. So I don't think that she's participating on this call, but we can definitely, Ms. Mills and myself, we can make sure that Ms. Thorpe is tracking those things from a purchasing perspective, that they are specifically in relation to this event. So in the event if there is a grant or some funding source that is a reimbursement-based program, then we will have those necessary documents to show what we've spent, and we can provide that documentation.
Right. How far out are they going with their projections for?
I know each request that I've received, even in regards to temporary personnel, even with our chief of police, when they have made recommendations in regards to this event, I'm telling them to project through June 30th, through the end of our current fiscal year.
That's good. That's really good.
That is what I'm asking. When the chief of police came to me, and of course this is pertaining to, you know, our human resource, our personnel, and police are essential in addressing the shortage that Chief Jones has identified. I told him, I said, Chief, you need to look, and we need to budget this expense through the end of this fiscal year. That's June 30th. I said, I'm not looking at a week or 2 weekends. We need to look through the end of this fiscal year.
Right.
So that is what I'm telling them. Not just telling Chief Jones that, I'm telling all department directors that in regards to any temporary staffing, they need to look and plan through the end of the fiscal year.
Right.
And
I've got one other suggestion if you've done, and that's a great answer. I have just heard recently that Duke University, their laboratory, has come up with a way to clean and reuse the N95 mask. I don't know what that is, Tanette, but you might Google it and look on the Duke website and see what they're recommending.
okay.
This is something.
And the only thing in that, I can definitely do that. Now, when I spoke to Todd from Coastal Health District earlier this week, and then I also spoke with another CEO out of a hospital out of North Georgia, and of course their concern was with the use of the mask and the application that those masks, if they're not fit tested, then is still a risk of compromising the individual, even if they're wearing them. Now, I know it at a certain point when resources become limited, then people have to end up using what they have, but we can definitely look at that. But again, we want to make sure that what we have best serves and protects the individuals that are utilizing, you know, these things.
Absolutely.
You know, if it gets to a point where they're using something and it's not going to exercise or offer the precautionary measures that are being recommended, then it's almost at a point, because I think there's some communique that's been shared that it's better if you wear the mask if you're actually sick. You know, if you're not sick, it's almost, you know, so again, there's a lot of things out there, but we can definitely look at that. But some of the information that has been shared with me from members of the Coastal Health District is just to make sure that we're protecting individuals. There's still certain protocols that you really should have, make sure that it's, you know, like I said, the term that was used was fit tested. So if we're giving something to our, you know, like I said, our police, our fire, and any other essential city staff, we just want to make sure it's best suited to protect them.
Right.
But we can definitely look at that and see if there is a way so that we can preserve what our available supply is.
I doubt they're recommending interchanging. I think they have a process that they've developed that is going to be put in practice that you can reuse those masks. And I don't know what it is, but just if you look into it.
Okay, we'll do that.
We have a motion on the floor, if y'all can remember.
Yes.
This has gotten a little
all that was about budget and where we are, every bit of it.
We're fine. Okay. Any other questions or comments about the financial report? Hearing none, then I believe our Madam Clerk is on the line. Will you call the roll, please?
Courtney? Ms. McGill?
Yes, I'm here. Commissioner Kaysen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martin, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Mayor Harvey, how do you vote?
Yes, so that motion carries unanimously for our finance report as approved. So thank you, Ms. Mills, and thank you everybody else who had to comment, and thank you for all the discussion concerning what's going on, how it affects our budget as well. So we're moving right along.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
this is Commissioner Harris. Just a quick comment before we move to the next item. This is an opportune time for us to put together a focus group within the city and to start assessing the impact that this occurrence is having on us, so we can start pre-planning and putting different things into place now. We've got new policies that we've put into place that are temporary, but some of those things may have an everlasting effect. So I think we need to start putting a focus group together to start assessing where we are and what this event has caused us to have to look at that we didn't look at in the past.
Well, I agree with you, Commissioner Harris. I think as we do that, I want to make sure that as we get past this, we look back and how we can have a post-assessment as to what it is too as well. While we're going through, the focus group should be looking at it, going through, like you said, the policies and so forth that we put together and how it affects all of us here. So if you don't mind, you can, I would like to designate you to start that focus group. Call upon the people that you need to be there at the table, then get back with us and go ahead and get that started, okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right. All right, as we move right along to item number 3A, which is consider approval of three home repairs for the minor major home repair community development block grant program. Ms. Dominique Mack Collins, if you're on the line, you have the floor.
Yes, sir, I'm here. Can everyone hear me?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I am here to discuss Community Development Block Grant Program. We have 3 homes that are in need of repair. The total amount is the amount of $120,000. We have the first one, 915 Newcastle Street, for $39,990,000. 806 First Avenue in the amount of $39,940. 3314 Franklin Avenue in the amount of $39,945. We have done our due diligence with advertising these 3 homes for bid. We have also bidded it out properly. We have selected a contractor, Mr. Stephen C. Golden and Associates, Inc., and we have also presented it to our Finance Committee on last week, Monday, and we got their support. We are fully prepared to go ahead and complete these 3 projects. I want to also make it be known that we have to spend $187,000 by May the 1st to make sure that we comply with our timeliness with HUD, and this will help us to succeed in that process. I also want to note that the reason that these funds have not been expended thus far is because we did have some transition in leadership, and then we did run into some difficulties with our environmental review and resubmitting that process through HUD and getting that approved. So we had to make sure that we had all of our I's dotted and T's crossed before we brought this before you, and we present these items for approval.
Thank you, Ms. Collins. One thing too, we realized that there was a transition period that we had to go through, and I'm glad now that we're where we are. How much total for all three of these homes?
$120,000.
Okay.
So where's the balance, the additional $67,000? Where will that be spent?
We have talked to our sidewalk projects for the Midtown, and we are getting the rest of the design work invoiced to us, and that will hopefully take off another $30,000. And then we have some salaries that we have not drawn down for our administrative staff that will hopefully take up the remainder. And if we do run into any troubles due to COVID-19, I am in weekly communications, probably every other day, to be honest. But I do send a written report weekly to our HUD representatives to let them know where we're at with our spending in case we do not reach that timeliness. But this will be able to take up a big chunk of that.
Okay.
Don't you have, this is Commissioner Kaysen, don't you have 3 more houses being advertised in the paper?
Yes, and that is for 2014 monies that have not been spent.
Whoa.
So we have to get that money spent as well, and that's about a little over $40,000. And we do not have to bring that one before the commission because we broke those down into smaller projects, and we're only spending about $10,000 to $15,000 on each one of those homes. And going forward, beginning July 1 with our new fiscal year, we will have a cap for each home, so we will not be spending $40,000 per home like we are with these projects.
Good.
And we will be able to do much more homes than we're able to do now. But because I wanted to make sure that we had already committed to this before I started on, I wanted to honor those commitments to these residents that were already promised these items to be repaired.
I've got a couple more questions. You said the Finance Committee has looked at it. Has the legal department looked at it?
Yes, our Brian has looked at all of our contracts before we sent it out.
You've got bonding requirements in here too, so that's good. Are these, the applicants, they all live in these domiciles full time?
Yes, sir. They're all residents that are 65 and above as well.
Yeah, and Mr.
So
Golden
these are
is, Mr. Golden
critical.
is a certified contractor?
Yes.
Thank you.
He's
Thank
met the HUD requirement.
His contract, his license is in good standing, and we've looked it over through SAMS.gov.
Yeah, they made sure they did all of that before they brought that to the Finance Committee.
Awesome.
Yeah, we certainly asked.
Mr. Golden was also used as a contractor in 2018, I believe, on 3 other homes that he completed. I believe Dominique may be able to correct me on that, but
That is true.
okay.
Well, look like we get ready to do the things we need to do. I know it's a long time coming. People have been talking about when things going to happen, and I really applaud you, Miss Matt Collins, for doing that, getting things rolling like we should. So.
I have one question on these repairs, which are rather significant. Well, one was, I just wanted to make sure that when they tear off existing shingles, that it doesn't say specifically that the shingles are removed and disposed of. I'm assuming they are. And the second question I have is, if Mr. Golden uses subcontractors, for instance, for the electrical work or the heating and air work.
If he
Has all
does
that been vetted and all of that checked out?
He hasn't told us about any subcontractors, but if he does use one, they would have to follow the same parameters that Mr. Golden follows as a part of taking a part of the CDBG grant, meaning if the Davis Wage-Bacon laws would have to apply, any requirements that are required from the state, they would also have to comply by, and he would, when we go out to do on-site monitoring checks, they would have to turn in that paperwork. But he has not notified of us of any subcontractors doing any work.
And federal as well too, Dominique, because these are federal funds as well too.
Yes, ma'am.
So anybody, any subcontract, contractor he uses, he's responsible for it. He's gonna have to definitely be bonded for, because the Miller Act and all of that stuff is going to apply to him.
Yes, ma'am.
That's correct.
Any further questions or comments? If not,
Mayor, I'd like to offer a motion that we approve the CBG program funds for the 3 houses that were named by.
Second.
motion second for the approval of the CBDG fund for the 3 houses that was mentioned. Are there any housing repair, excuse me. Are there any further questions? Courtney, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kaysen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Harvey, how do you vote?
Yes. So that motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Collins. Thank you for putting it together. Thank you, Finance Committee for approving this as well. And I know our residents are really going to be happy that we're finally getting this started back again. So.
In the legal department.
And legal department, yes. Yes, legal department.
No problem.
So thank you, everybody. So we'll move right along. We're at my item, I guess. Mayor Harvey's item. Consider appointment of Ms. Regina McDuffie as city manager for the city of Brunswick. We have all had time to reflect, and if there's any questions concerning her interview, Ms. McDuffie has been talking with our city attorney to make sure we have all the contractual things in place and so forth. So we would like to, if there's no other questions or comment, to be able to offer employment to Ms. McDuffie as our new city manager.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Motion second for approval of the appointment of Ms. Regina McDuffie as our city manager for the city of Brunswick. Further questions?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that with my situation, I have read that this was a unanimous thing, and I want you to please know that I joined in a consensus is what I did. I want that on record, please.
Okay.
And I do believe that the people that applied for the job should be, that information should be given to the public.
All right. Well, thank you for that comment.
You bet.
Any further comment? All right. Courtney, call the roll again, please.
Commissioner Kaysen, how do you vote?
I'm going to say yes.
Commissioner Harris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Harvey, how do you vote?
Yes. So I want to thank, that motion carries unanimously. Thank you thank you everybody for voting to approval of our new city manager, who should be reporting as soon as she can when we get through this this pandemic that we got going on here. She will be making she's always talking with our legal department as well, and I'm sure she'll be talking with human resources as well. I have called her and talked with her. She's eager to come. So we're eager to have her. So thank you again, commissioners, and I think this person will lead us in the future. All right. As we move right along, we're at item number 5. Item number 5A, excuse me. It's the resolution number 20-20-08, approval of the emergency order of the City of Brunswick Board of Commissioners related to the COVID-19 virus.
Mayor, I think you might have skipped item number 5.
I think the item number 5 is the approval of her employment agreement for the city manager. I think that 4 and 5 could have gone hand in hand.
Yes.
With the appointment being made, I'll just say a couple things that all the commissioners should have in their. I sent out an email earlier. You should all have the agreement in your inbox, emailed to you. The agreement lays out the details. My email lays out the critical or the essential terms of the contract. But overall, everything has been agreed upon. I've been in constant contact with Ms. McDuffie. It's obviously been somewhat of a difficult discussion right now because the outside things that we're handling with COVID. So at the moment, her start date is open because we need to see how, with the new order from Governor Kemp today, how easy it's going to be for her to make the move to Brunswick. But I would just ask, with the appointment being confirmed, I don't know if we need to take a vote on this, but it probably would be best to do so, to approve the agreement. And then I can communicate with Ms. McDuffie and communicate with you as a commission as well to say how the details are sort of going to be worked out.
Okay, I'm sorry about missing that. I did the appointment. Now we need the approval of the appointment agreement. Yes. It might be prudent that we vote on that, subject to the city attorney and Ms. Duffy iron out some of the small differences.
And I think the
Mr.
only
Mayor,
details that would. Go ahead.
I'd like to also motion that we approve the employment agreement between the City of Brunswick and our city manager, Ms. Regina.
Subject to,
Yes, go ahead. Say subject.
Yeah, subject to the outcomes, I guess, as relates to the coronavirus, to start dates and things of that.
and subject
Second.
to, subject to any of the items that the city attorney addressed.
Correct. Which mostly deal with with how COVID is impacting this transition.
Okay.
Okay, I got a motion. I got a second. Are there any further discussion?
I thought we had set a tentative date that she would start.
We did, sir.
The tentative date is May 1st, but I'd like to have some leeway with her as we kind of move through. I know the shelter-in-place agreement, which I'll talk about in a second, goes till April 13th. The city agreement, the city emergency order, which I'll also talk about in a second, goes until April 30th. So and it's a legitimate concern that if we see an extension of the shelter-in-place order after April 13th, it's going to make moving a household very difficult. So I just want to have some flexibility. The tentative start date is May 1st, but we just kind of have to see how the instruction from the state and the governor moves going forward.
Yes.
I agree.
Okay. Any further comments? Okay, Ms. McGill, call the roll again, please.
Commissioner Kaysen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Harvey, how do you vote?
Yes. So that motion carries unanimously for approval of the employment agreement for the city manager, Ms. Regina McDuffie, subject to the stipulations that was said by our city attorney dealing with the coronavirus pandemic, excuse me. All right. So we're still at city attorney item number 5A.
Correct. I sent this out earlier today. It's something that I think has been heavily discussed. It's a additional emergency order that the city commission can consider. As you all are obviously aware, on March 23rd, you issued a declaration of local emergency related to the COVID-19 pandemic. We've gotten additional, since that time frame, we've had additional guidance from GMA. They've actually issued a model ordinance that we could pass. Also, since the time that the city has declared a local emergency, the county has issued additional orders related to the beaches and hotels and short-term rentals on St. Simons. They've also issued some additional regulations on certain businesses. So in looking to try to bring some sort of uniformity amongst the two jurisdictions, I adopted portions of the GMA guidelines and looked to the county and their resolutions and tried to put it together in the document that you guys have before you. I think the greatest details that I can show that as I go over this document is that the prior resolutions are still in full force and effect,
Yes.
and this emergency order would extend them from April 13th till April 30th. That is the same thing as the county now. So we have a sort of a uniform time frame with April 30th being the date that the city can either obviously reconsider. At this point, not looking good that we would shorten that date, but we can consider using that date as the end point or extending. So there's a uniformity on April 30th. It sets forth regulations and restrictions that were offered by GMA and have been adopted by the county in their recent orders of banning all public and private gatherings of more than 10 people. This is going to be something that is done whether it's on property owned and controlled by the city, or whether it's within a household or an event that takes place at some place of employment. So there's certain exceptions to that, of course, that people can still utilize the parks, recreation areas, and those types of, under this order, under those types of circumstances, so long as they are not in a group of more than 10 people. And even in groups of less than 10 people, this new emergency order places not a restriction, but guidance that those people that are less than 10 should try to remain at least 6 feet apart at all times. It sets forth that public and private gatherings of more than 10 people, there's exceptions to that. That where the Georgia Emergency Management Agency or the governor has deemed critical infrastructure, medical, health services, those exceptions that would be clearly necessary to, treat or maintain treatment for people, those are going to be exempt under this. It also, moving further down on page 3, item 1, this is something I think that caused quite a bit of confusion between the county and the city. We fielded multiple phone calls, and I spoke to several commissioners about this. What it does is it extends. We've already closed certain businesses under our former resolution, gyms, bars, nightclubs, certain other businesses. This extends it to the body care services. You'll see it lists all of the businesses in paragraph number 1. It shall not restrict services performed under the direct supervision of a licensed medical doctor, nurse, dentist, physical therapist, chiropractor, or other healthcare professional. So we're trying to continue again to allow medical treatment to take place. Some of the things that I adopted in here I thought would help, since we are pushing it out till April 30th, pushing out and tolling deadlines for city occupational tax certificates, permits, or similar civil approvals mandated by the city code. So they're told until April 30th, and then you get a grace period for another 30 days after April 30th to come in and obtain those, whether it's a license, a permit, tax certificate, whatever the need may be. In addition to that, and I spoke to John Hunter a little bit about this because of the questions we had as the city ordinance requires, appeal boards, meetings, planning department decisions. Those decisions are also tolled until April 30th, and then we have a grace period for 30 days following that as well. All permits for public conduct and special events, including parks and facility rentals, to be held on City of Brunswick property for the duration of the order, so meaning again April 30th, are hereby canceled, and we are not issuing any new public conduct or special event permits. That's what this order calls for. Lastly, or number 5, if you take a look at that, that is adopting the penalties section of our City of Brunswick Emergency Management Ordinance. It's pretty uniform. The county has a similar section, and GMA has recommended the same type of fine, which is a fine not exceeding $1,000 per violation, or imprisonment not to exceed 60 days. Of course, under these circumstances, I would not advise for imprisonment. I think we need to try to avoid that. Item 6 on page 3, the declaration shall take effect tomorrow, April 2nd at noon, and shall remain in effect until April 30th, 2020 at roughly midnight, unless otherwise amended, extended, or canceled by the mayor. I say all of that knowing that this was drafted earlier today, and it took quite some time to put together, and then I believe the governor just recently came out and has issued a shelter-in-place order.
Yes.
That is supposed to go into place tomorrow, and the details of that order, I believe, will be released tomorrow. So I'm not sure the exact details of that. I do know that I think the AJC reported that it's supposed to expire on April 13th.
Does it go in effect tomorrow or the 3rd? I thought it was the 3rd.
It goes into effect on Friday.
You're correct. That's right. On Friday the 3rd. So we'll know the details tomorrow. Because it ends on April 13th, my advice, I think, on this particular matter would probably be to continue forward with our emergency order, since it extends all the way to the 30th. And that's the only way I can kind of resolve these issues at the moment, without knowing what's going to be in the shelter-in-place order. If it's anything like Florida's, I think Florida still allows people who are practicing the correct social distancing requirements of less than 10 people, 6 feet apart. I think people are still allowed to go outside, take walks, and go to parks. But before I go down that road, I'd like to see what the governor's order is, or the details that are contained therein tomorrow. But I still think it might be best. Go ahead.
Let me ask this question. So with the places like Manor House and places like that where a lot of homeless people gather, are there going to be stipulations for how are those things going to be controlled and regulated?
There's not a specific regulation in this emergency order dealing with, I would say, Manor House and the other in Salvation Army. I'd hope that they're putting in internal protocols. I don't know how the shelter-in-place order from the governor is going to affect them. That's probably going to be somewhat more concerning, because I don't know if, I don't know how they're going to, quote-unquote, shelter in place. The Manor House, I think, would still, I'm not sure. I think they could still offer takeout and curbside offerings. I think same with some of the services out of Salvation Army. Salvation Army could place restrictions on their own business that only allows, less than 10 people in and has to keep them 6 feet apart. So,
Ron, I'm sorry, not to interrupt the city attorney. This is Tanette Myers. We did send out communication earlier this week in regards to certain populations. I think that was Commissioner Williams that asked that question. And we do have a conference call scheduled for tomorrow at noon to discuss shelter-in-place solutions for these special populations. The recommendation that our city staff, we've been reviewing, recommends the continuation of that, not to disrupt those special populations that seek out those types of services. So we are going to, again, convene a second call from the communications I had with Ms. Matt Collins before we got into the this meeting tonight, I think we had at least maybe 9 to 11 participants, which included our community partners in addition to city staff. The previous call that we had, John Hunter and Ms. Matt Collins and I participated, along with Jeff Clark, who is our COC for Glenn County, and Ms. Melinda Ennis Roughton. I don't want to mispronounce her name, but those were the individuals that participated on that call. So hopefully we'll have some more updates. But the recommendation from the CDC is not to disrupt those types of businesses or services, because then those populations become even further displaced.
Okay. I know there was that Culpepper came and spoke with us and talked about a tent city or something to that effect across from the well.
Yes.
I spoke with the mayor earlier today, and as a suggestion, perhaps if we did something of that nature, that we could use a park, maybe Orange Park or somewhere that's close to those facilities and close enough to those facilities for persons to walk, during this time, so that at least we'll know that, they're sheltered in some place altogether.
Okay. And I apologize, Commissioner Williams, and it may be my connection. I'm in City Hall. The reception is breaking up some.
Yeah, it is.
Yes.
Okay, so it's not just, okay. I thought it was probably my device, because I've been having issues in my office all week. Is someone able to, because I couldn't hear his question or comment.
I was saying that I suggested that we look at possibly sheltering, like you talked about the tent city situation.
Mm-hmm.
Just doing a temporary tent city or tent whatever in a city park like Orange Park or something like that.
And those are the types
downtown.
Those are the types of items that we're scheduled to discuss on tomorrow. I can definitely, we can share our, it will be a virtual call. So if you like, I can definitely share those Zoom credentials with you so that you can hear what comes out of that call. And we were going to provide an update to the entire city commission regarding this population, what those businesses are going to do.
Is that tomorrow?
I'm sorry.
Day?
The call pertaining to these special populations with our community partners, we scheduled that call for tomorrow.
Okay.
It was originally scheduled for Friday, but in light of what came, the governor's press conference, we moved this meeting up.
Okay, I didn't
So
get that.
it was originally scheduled for Friday, but in light of what the shelter-in-place order, the statewide shelter-in-place order, that's the reason why this our conference call was moved up a day.
Okay, can you send me that information? Because I still
You don't have that?
Okay, no.
I didn't receive it either. Could we send it back
Yeah.
out to the whole group?
Yes,
Sure.
This is Dominique on the call. I resent it out at 5:45 to everyone.
Okay.
All the commissioners on the list, the chief of police is also on that list, the mayor, the Department of Public Health, all of our partners in regards to homeless services are on that list, the sheriff, as well as...
Also included, did you say Coastal Health District representatives also, Dominique?
The Coastal Health District is also on that. We had some participants to already to confirm their registration for Friday, but again, in light of the information that we just received at 4, I moved the meeting up, and I'm also going to send out an agenda that I've already prepared, but I want to make sure I have all the information after this call before I send that information out to everyone regarding the agenda. And I've been researching since last week different options from San Francisco to also Tampa in Florida different things that they're doing, looking at the guidelines from the CDC as well as HUD on how these programs should be operated.
I have a couple of questions that we need to address in regards to the COVID-19. One is the cruise line that continues to pull up to Mary Ross Park and dock. I don't know what the situation is, but we need to know what that situation is, where those people are coming from. They're coming in from, they don't live here. So if they're out and about in our community, you know, that's a huge question right there to me.
Yeah, that needs to be
Downtown
stopped.
Development Authority has checked with the company that owns those vessels, and Matthew has an answer. And I believe unless they brought another vessel in, the one that's down there is empty.
Okay,
The one that's
That's
been
my understanding.
for so long has been empty.
thank you.
But before we had one down there, and that's when Matthew checked. And you're right that people were on and off of that boat, and they were all over downtown. And I just happened to be down there, and I asked him to check and see what their protocol is. And it's pretty much in line with what the CDC told us. But Matthew has that, so
Well, we need to let the rest of the community know what's going on with that, because that's a huge, you know, when you drive down Gloucester and you see it right there, it's like,
looks good, doesn't it? Looks good to me.
my other thought or concern or question is the whole population that for the most part lives at the Brunswick Landing Marina, or really any marina. We have five different marinas. Obviously Brunswick Landing Marina is in the city. What does shelter in place mean to those people when they're on a very small vessel and they have very limited access or storage capacity, I guess maybe you'd say, for fresh produce and food and supplies? I've already been asked, what does that shelter in place look like for them?
And I'm hesitant to answer those questions because I'd like to see Governor Kemp's order tomorrow before.
Yeah.
We're not ordering in the city's present emergency order. There is not a component that states shelter in place. This is more so of adding additional regulations, closing additional businesses, and trying to make sure that we have some uniformity between the city and the county as to what should be taking place, and just greater encouragement of avoiding situations of greater than 10 or more people, and adding some teeth to it by placing penalties on violations of it. So before I'd like to see, because his order may be so, it may lean one way or the other. It may be looser restrictions where, again, you know, Florida is under shelter in place, but they're still allowed to do certain things. So I think that would apply to these ships or people living on boats. But until we see the one from Governor Kemp tomorrow, I just, you know, hesitate to sort of speculate as to what they might be allowed to do.
Yes, I agree with you, Mr. City Attorney, because the governor put that out statewide. So that's statewide. So it kind of, it really adds a lot of teeth to some of the things that we're trying to do as well. So I think as we find out exactly what he meant by shelter in place and the guidelines, then we'll be able to, if we need to do something with our order, then we can do that.
Right, and I think that might require that we either amend our order again, or that we just sort of take a stance that our order will be effective after the shelter in place is over.
Yeah, we can do that.
So one question too that I have for a lot of these very small businesses that are body care services, whether they have a physical brick and mortar location or they work out of their home, if they're basically told to shut down, you know, I had a call today. What's to prevent those people from going to a client's home and providing a service, like to cut their hair or to, you know, do whatever? I mean, would they, if they're caught, let's just say, would they be fined $1,000? I mean, what does that look like on the ground?
I think it's tough to say, but yeah, I think the ultimate outcome would be the potential to be fined. But this isn't, you know, this isn't a proactive emergency order. This is an emergency order stating, please do these things. If you are caught doing them, you could be subject to fine.
Okay.
It would be, you know, I think under the circumstances you just sort of described, it'd be very difficult to, I don't think anybody has the expectation that the city is combing or going from door to door to ensure compliance with the order. And I have noticed, I think, that even as the city implements these orders, that generally speaking, people seem to be either already complying or complying once the orders are put into place.
Thank you.
I've got one going back up to number 2 on the prohibition of private and public gatherings on city-owned property. This is Johnny Cason too. Docks, we've got docks. Are we going to shut the docks down, or what are we going to do?
And that would,
I don't think it's shutting down anything of that nature like that, but it's just prohibitive of public gathering. Gathering means 10 or more.
Well, you've got a lot of usage out at the park underneath the bridge. I went out there the other day and I expect you had 25 trailers parked underneath the bridge out there. So people are really using that boat ramp out there. But I would say that if it's 10 people, if that's what it is, I wouldn't think that you would have more than 10 people launching a boat or bringing one in at a time.
correct. And as the mayor just kind of stated, under that section, you know, public gathering shall mean the organized gathering of or assembly of 10 or more persons at a specific location. And I would hope, just like in the same sense of what you just said, that I can't foresee 10 or more people meeting in place to launch a boat. If they are, I think that would be a violation of what the order calls for. That would be a big vote. But I have heard that in Florida that they do have fish and wildlife agents at boat ramps making sure that people are not violating that portion. I mean, I think Florida specifically allows for people to continue to sort of do recreational activities like fish, utilize marinas and boat ramps, but they are seeking to try to enforce to make sure people aren't out on the water with, you know, multiple, you know, in violation of that order.
Okay. One other question. What are we going to do about short-term rentals, hotels and motels?
That is not something that was included in this one because in looking at trying to be uniform with what the county was doing so that we could sort of remove confusion. And I don't know if this, how we could do this, but the county only restricted, as far as I can understand, the county only restricted short-term rentals and hotel and motel operations on St. Simon's Island.
True.
And as a result, I mean, the city, we could add short-term rentals and hotel motels to our emergency order. I guess it's up to the commission, but I just thought it would again sort of bleed over into some confusing maybe questions being offered to staff. And I think recently just received orders. I think Jekyll Island has also placed some restrictions on short-term rentals greater than 2 nights, I think is what they've placed a restriction on. And I'd have to go back and check. I just received the Jekyll Island order. So I'm not sure.
I don't think long-term I don't think short-term rentals is much of an issue for us, like it is with the island.
And right, and the hotels out by the interstate. We just don't. I don't think we have that component to worry about in the same the way they're concentrated at the interstate with hotels, the way they're concentrated on St. Simon's Island with the short-term rentals and hotels, I don't think there's an absolute concentration within the city limits that might need regulations. But if that is something the commission would like to see added to the emergency order, I'd be, I can make those revisions as well.
I'll say this, it's been probably a month ago, I was talking to a new resident. They just moved here from Colorado. They bought a house on Union Street it's sort of like a compound, really. And she told me right up front that they plan to rent the back of that property, Airbnb, and so it's here. You've got short-term rentals here.
Yeah.
We have that.
How extensive they are, I don't know, but I was a little bit surprised. I really was.
No, they're here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, it's something to consider. Which, if we're going to make some alterations to this thing after we see what the governor says, to me, that's something to be considered also.
That's true.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
Right.
That's what I was gonna say. Once we look at the shelter in place procedures that are handed down by the governor, then we need to come back and see if we need to readdress what we have in place.
I agree with that.
That's true. Also, I want to make, when I ask the question to the council, the county has these special call meetings and they're putting out their declaration. And we could have special call meetings and put out a declaration just as well. However, I would like to ask the council, would it be prudent if myself and Mayor Pro Tem sit in on the county's special call meetings concerning this virus, and that we make decisions for the council?
I don't see why not.
I don't have a problem with that. That's doable with everybody. I don't have a problem, Mr. Mayor.
With along with Brian?
Yes.
Yeah, I've been watching all of, or watching them and making notes to see what we can do. But yeah, I'd be happy to sit in on them.
I'll go along with that. That's good with me.
Okay.
I mean, I would think anything that we would learn or consider at the county level would obviously come back to the city for a vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we would sit on their board with them, and I'm sure they will ask us our opinion on whatever, Mayor Pro Tem, and then we will give it and tell them we will take it back to our council quickly for a vote, and then we can all put out a uniform message instead of 1 and 1, 1 and 1, 1 and 1.
Okay.
Okay. So where are we with this 5A here, this declaration? Do we need to vote on it subject to the governor's shelter in place conference that he had today? So we need to just wait until that happens and call a special call meeting so we can go ahead and adopt it. What would you like to do?
Mr. Mayor,
Gotta
Mr.
move
Mayor, I'd
forward.
offer a motion to adopt the resolution as presented by our city attorney, and with any changes to be as per the governor's order.
Commissioner Williams, you breaking up, so we can't just kind of hear you get every last word you saying.
I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me better now?
Now you clear now.
Well, I guess my first question would be to Brian, how should we, how should we craft this motion?
I think if to make it as simple as possible, I think it'd be best to, if it's the will of the commission to approve the emergency order, I think it would be the best thing to do to be simple and state that your motion to approve the emergency order as written. And then I think what would be best is to, after we view and see what the regulations are within Governor Kemp's order tomorrow, that if we need to, we could do a special called meeting next week and make any amendments then. but I think it'd be best to go ahead and have it in place, because it might be the case that the order as written covers the basis we need right now. The Governor Kemp's order, everybody would be, obviously subject to that order anyways. And then if he does lift it on April 13th, but advises that we continue with our local control, the city's order could remain in effect till the 30th. So I think it'd be best just to approve tonight as written. And then if necessary, I can get with the mayor and Commissioner Martin, or Mayor Pro Tem Martin, if the county changes anything, or if what the governor changes, I can get with the whole commission and we can make a determination next week. But I'd like to go ahead and get it in place if that's all right.
Yeah, I mean,
think
this
that-
whole thing is
that
very
was the motion.
fluid. Very
Yes,
fluid.
it is.
That was the motion that I made, Brian. Mr. Mayor, I made the motion that we approve with, any changes that may come from the governor's office, that we would have a special call meeting to approve those as well.
Okay.
So the motion is to approve as written pending potential amendments based upon the forthcoming declaration of the governor.
Thank you.
Right.
You so put it in.
Second. I'll second.
Okay, motion second for the approval of this emergency order that 2020-08. Are there any further discussion? McGill, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Kaysen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Harris, how do you vote?
Yes.
Commissioner Williams, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Martin, how do you vote?
Yes.
Mayor Harvey, how do you vote?
Yes. Okay, that motion carries unanimously, and it becomes effective when?
Tomorrow at noon.
Noon tomorrow.
12
Yes.
And it goes to April 30th.
Yes, at 11:59 p.m.
Yes, unless amended. And
Correct.
please, let's be mindful that we could call a special call meeting and we can meet just like this and to decide that we need to put something else out pending the governor's conference that we're gonna find, shelter in place.
Yes.
Okay? So don't
Are
be
all of,
afraid to do that.
I'm sorry. A quick question is, are all of these declarations and resolutions, how are we classifying them? By date, by
Number.
name, by,
Yep. 2020-06, 2020-07, and the present one, the one that was just approved tonight, would be 2020-08, I believe.
And the location for accessibility to the public, so that if they want to download or get copies of these declarations, because I've gotten a couple of calls that people were looking for these to make sure that they get this information and they can read it for themselves.
I believe, I don't want to speak for the city manager. I believe they're right on they're right on the city's website underneath the city's notice and of the closure.
They have been added to the city's website, and we've also published them on publication on our Facebook page as well.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, great. Okay, commissioners, this was the end of our agenda item, and we're not going to do executive session. But there's one item that we need to discuss. We discussed that last time, and it's for discussion, and that's dealing with the homeless population here in Brunswick. I know Commissioner Kaysen was concerned about that. We had Reverend Wright Culpepper come to us to talk about it. Commissioner Williams just mentioned about if we have situations like that, we was not going to offer them to start a tent camp in our downtown area, which they was trying to, they suggested. Did anybody have any more comment on that?
I think that's something that's going to be addressed tomorrow, and I think we need to listen at those that have more or better credential than we are on that. I don't know if we need to look at doing some type of tent city in neighboring communities. we need the logistics of that need to really be thought out. And I think that will be something that will be addressed in that meeting on tomorrow. And I was reading some information that they were talking about potential vouchers for lodging and those sorts of things. So I think that will be something that will come out of that meeting on tomorrow, and we probably need to hear those thoughts as they're thought out in more detail.
Okay, that sounds good. Also, I got something.
I'd like to say this, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate all the work that's being done, and who's really jumped on this is our interim city manager, and she's really done quite a job on getting the information out. And I thank you so much, Danette, really do. It's a serious.
Her and Dominique. Dominique
and Dominique working with Danette. You're absolutely right.
And John as well. John Hunter has been.
I want to finish in just a minute. I got some more thanks I want to do. I'm not through.
Okay.
but anyhow, it's just been an amazing thing. And I just want to throw in, my concern is for the safety of the people that use the well, as well as Wright Culpepper and his staff. It's for all of the folks in downtown. Shelter in place is the only way to beat this virus. It is absolutely to be taken dead serious. No pun intended. There is no way that medicine's going to do anything now. Thank the Lord. People have got tests now that you'll know about if you've got COVID, or companies do rather, in 5 minutes. And there's a lot being done. And just hopefully this is a spring thing, but it could be a summer thing. But there is so much being done. And about the mask, I've just heard too that 1.5 billion masks will be available. I don't have the period, but it will be a short time in comparison to the way it was done. So lots of businesses and industry are working on this thing, but what we're working on down there to take care of the folks at the well is absolutely a necessity. And I thank you. And while I got the floor, I just want to say, I thank all the departments down there for the city of Brunswick, and certainly police and fire, but everybody is doing diligence. This is an unprecedented time. And hopefully there will never be another one like it again, and we'll nip this in the bud, but probably there will be, and we'll be ready for it. So thank everybody that's down there and doing what you're doing, whether you're doing it for home or whether you're doing it at the office. Thanks very much. And Danette, thanks for your guidance.
Thank you.
Okay, I did get something from Mr. Wright, Reverend Wright Culpepper. He said that the Sparrow's Nest saw an increase in food about 40% last week through this week. So I'm sure that they are going to be inundated too. So I think there's a request out there to the public to replenish Sparrow's Nest and all food banks as well. There's people are requesting those type of services, and we're glad that we have some nonprofits that really step up to the plate and do that. And also this community is very well too. People are trying to help people a lot. I echo Commissioner Cason's thank you to all our city employees and our leadership there, and also to our community too. You know, we got to stick together, but do it from a distance.
Amen.
Yep.
Okay, any other commissioner would like to have something to say before I ask for adjournment?
I just want to tell anybody that's streaming or that's watching via Facebook or however your social media outlet allows you to, just be safe. Don't compromise. Don't take for granted that just because you may be outside of the warned area or the area that the population that does not appear to be affected. This thing has nobody's name on it. It's just like a bullet shot in the air. It has to come down somewhere, and where it comes down, it has nobody's name on it. So exercise your social distance and be safe, be careful. If you're not looking out for yourself, look out for the other person. Just as if you're driving, you may be a careful driver, but you never know how the other driver drives. So just make sure that you're exercising your precautionary measures to take care of yourself as well as the other person that you may come into contact with.
Anything, Commissioner Martin? Mayor Pro Tem?
No, I echo that. Be smart and think about where you go and how close you're getting to folks and who you let in your house.
Yeah. Mr. Williams, you want to say anything?
I just want to say, of course, thank you to our staff, and also, especially, I know we keep saying fire police, but our public works people who are also doing an awesome job. And I just want to say, you know, thank you so much to Ms. Myers and her leadership, and all those who are working with her. And we'll get through this thing. I just trust God that we're going to get through it, and I think we're going to come out a lot better than some other cities may come out. So let's just stay prayerful and just stay safe.
All right, thank you. And also, I want to echo those comments to thankful to this city commission. This is one of the best commission I ever sit upon, and I'm proud to be able to serve with you guys. You guys are the best. I really believe that, and I'm so thankful for that. So we come to the end.
Mayor, let me say one other thing. I think due to who has to set this stuff up for us to do it, so we don't have to get together, is Kyle, and I want to send out a special thanks to him.
Yes, sir.
He is really doing a great job, and just, I'm sure Jeanette will tell him that we thanked everybody, but without this, I don't know where we'd be. So thank you.
I will definitely let him know, and thank you for your patience. He has really been, he's been in popular demand, but he's always there and dedicated. So thank you. I will share that with him.
Yeah, it's all of them. Everybody is just meant awesome.
Okay, we come to the end of our regular printed agenda, and there's nothing else needs to be done at this particular time. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion that
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, for your as well.
All right. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any motion second for us to adjourn this meeting? Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Aye. Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and be safe out there. Practice that social distancing, please, and make sure you wash your hands.
Thumbs up.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody. Be
Thank you,
safe.
Brian.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Jeanette.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Good
Cheers.
evening.
Good evening.
Whoa, no, I gotta be transparent, right? Okay.